We spend our lives chasing numbers on a screen, believing that the more we hold, the safer we are. But the bitter truth is that many of the richest people you know are actually living in a prison of their own making. They have mastered the art of earning, but they have failed the art of living. There is a secret about wealth that the world rarely talks about. Money is like water, and when water stops moving, it loses its life. Today, I want to show you why your fear of losing money is exactly what is keeping you from true abundance. Let me tell you a story about a man named Dev who learned this lesson on the cold, gray steps of an ancient mountain temple. Dev was a successful merchant who had spent 20 years building his empire. He had more gold than he could ever spend, yet he was a man haunted by shadows. He sat on the temple steps, listening to the rhythmic sound of a distant gong, but his mind was not at peace. He was constantly calculating his losses. If a servant broke a plate, Dev felt the sting in his soul. If a trade deal went slightly wrong, he could not eat for days. His scarcity mindset had become a heavy chain around his neck. He hoarded his wealth out of a deep, shivering fear of the future. He thought that by holding on tight, he was protecting himself. But in reality, he was losing his sleep, his health, and his joy. His heart had become as hard and cold as the stone he sat upon. As the sun began to set, an old teacher with bright, kind eyes sat down beside him. The teacher did not look at Dev's expensive clothes. He looked only at Dev's tightly clenched fists. The old man reached into his robe and pulled out a single, small copper coin. He placed it in Dev's palm and said that he had a challenge for him. He told Dev to go down into the village and give away one small coin to a stranger every hour for 12 hours straight. Dev was confused. He was a man who only thought about how to get more, not how to give. But the teacher's Dev felt he had no choice but to try this strange experiment. For the first few hours, Dev felt a sharp pang of anxiety every time he handed over a coin. His brain whispered that he was losing something valuable. He felt the psychological weight of the scarcity he had practiced for years. But as the 6th and 7th hours passed, something beautiful began to happen. He started to look at the people he was helping. He saw a tired mother buy bread. He saw a young student buy a book. He saw the light in their eyes. The act of giving was slowly breaking the frozen walls around his heart. He realized that the coin did not disappear. It simply changed form into a smile, a meal, or a moment of hope. The teacher eventually found him at the end of the 12 hours. They sat together under a large banyan tree as the stars began to wake up. The teacher spoke in a voice that felt like a warm breeze. He explained that a clenched fist can hold a small amount of money, but a clenched fist can never receive a blessing. He taught Dev that the universe operates on the law of flow. A river stays fresh and clear because the water moves constantly. If the water stops moving, it becomes a stagnant pond full of bitterness and decay. Money, the teacher said, is a form of energy. When you hold it too tightly because of fear, you stop the energy from working for you. You become a slave to the coin rather than its master. You become a slave to the coin rather than its master. Wealth is not a mountain to be guarded. It is a river that must be allowed to run. Dev had a sudden moment of clarity, a true eureka moment that changed his life forever. He realized that his fear of poverty was actually creating a poverty of the spirit. He decided that from that day forward, he would never let his fear dictate his actions. In our modern world of 2026, we often fall into the same trap as Dev. We check our digital bank accounts and feel a rush of stress. We hoard our digital wealth and stay in jobs we hate because we are afraid of the flow. A practical way to break this fear today is to create a giving budget. Even if it is a very small amount, the act of intentionally sharing money every month trains your brain to believe in abundance rather than lack. It proves to your subconscious mind that you have enough and that you are safe. As we look at our fast-paced lives, we must remember that hoarding wealth without joy is simply a high-priced prison. Whether you are building a career or managing a household, do not let the weight of a single penny cost you your soul. True wealth is found in the freedom to let go and the wisdom to know that what you give will always find its way back to you in ways that money cannot buy. Real prosperity is a peaceful heart and an open hand.